Perfect. A few more people have joined us now. So what we'll do, we'll go ahead and get started. I just want to say welcome and thank you to those of you who joined us this afternoon for our UK new features webinar, and to those of you who are watching a recorded version later on. If at any point you can't see my screen or can't hear me, the Q&A box is open. Please let me know, and I will do my best to fix it as we go. But hopefully what you're seeing now is the introductory slide of this webinar. I have met a lot of you before, judging by the names in attendance today, but there also are a lot of you who I haven't met, or potentially haven't been to one of these webinars before. So for those of you who haven't met, my name's Connor. I look after everything kind of post-sales for CAS 360 here in the UK. So answering all your questions, helping you out and trying to make the process as smooth as possible for you on CAS 360. For those who have attended a webinar before, the structure will remain pretty similar. However, for those who haven't attended, we will run through a few different bits today. Just before we do get started, I want to let you know that the Q&A box is, of course, open. If you've got any questions throughout the session, please pop them in there. And at the end, we will spend a couple of minutes trying to answer all your questions if we can. I won't answer them as we go throughout, just in case we have an answer to your question coming up later in the session. In terms of the content we're going to go through today, if I can get my screen to work. This is a little bit of an agenda, a bit of a contents page of everything we're going to cover. Now, what is a little bit different to previous webinars that we've had is that this is going to be quite heavy going in terms of all the 18th of November changes that have taken place, as well as covering everything CAS 360 has done in regards to those changes. Initially, I have a couple of little updates for you, which we'll do straight away, and then we'll run into a summary of those changes that occurred on the 18th of November. Obviously, they do run in a little bit more detail than what we've got in this summary, but it should hopefully give you a good indicator of what types of things CAS 360 has done to help with all these changes and keep you fully compliant. We'll then run through a quick recap on the company compliance page. I know it's something we've covered already, but there is a new addition of KYC within there. So we'll show you how all of that works and what you need to know about that as well. And then we'll revisit the Companies House personal codes, which again, I know we've touched on before, but as of the 18th of November, we have released a couple of changes for those as well. There's also a number of forms that have been updated within CAS 360 as a result of the Companies House changes. I'll run you through what those forms are, as well as give you one or two examples on how they work and how they look. And finally, we'll round off with BGL ID for all your ID verifications and AML. That will include everything from how to request an ID, including what your client might see from their perspective, how to see the reports and the results, and how to use the alert system as well. Final slide will be just some enhancements that we are currently working on to improve even further on the 18th of November changes and the releases over the past month as well. So just before we get into all the juicy stuff for today, I'm aware there have been a few rejected forms going on as a result of issues with Companies House rather than issues within CAS 360. Thank you all for your patience on these. We've been working very hard with Companies House in direct communications with them to get all of these fixed. And we had a statement from them the other day updating us on everything that has gone on. So CSO1s were struggling off the back of shareholder transactions and were rejecting. We've been made aware by Companies House that they've fixed this on their end and they should now all be working. INO1s and APO1s were also experiencing previous delays, which we're led to believe have now been fixed as well. And the PSCO4, which is quite a recent issue they had, the fix is still ongoing, but users are now able to submit, although there may be some processing delays. So just to make you aware of that, that's what's going on. Hopefully that should help to improve the experience a little bit. And we are working closely with Companies House to continue improving those results on them. So into today's stuff, what are the UK November the 18th changes? They obviously go into quite some detail, and there's lots of different things you'll be aware of and lots of little changes here and there. But what we've got here is a little bit of a summary just to give you a kind of overview about what's gone on. Obviously, the one you'll be most aware of is that directors and PSCs are now going to be required to verify their identity with the Companies House. This is done in a few different ways. New directors and PSCs will need to verify their ID at a company and corporation or when they are appointed into their roles. And existing directors will need to provide a personal code when they file their next CSO1. Existing PSCs have a 14-day period to provide their personal code to Companies House. We will break down each of those points throughout today's session and show you how each of them integrates with CAS 360 and makes the process a little bit more seamless for you. There is also no longer a legal requirement to hold the registers of what you can see on screen. Again, we've updated pieces in CAS to help you as you go through this process and be aware of what is needed and what isn't, as well as the ability to choose to do them if you wish. Again, I'll show you that throughout the session with some little clips we've got prepared to show you exactly what we mean. You will no longer need to provide business occupations for company directors when you register their appointment with Companies House. And you will also, or your companies will need to create and maintain their own register of shareholders. These are all things we've implemented into CAS, and as we go through today's session, this page here should start to make a little bit more sense as to what we mean and how it's going to work on CAS 360. So, a quick recap on the company compliance page. I know we've gone through this already, but please follow along on screen. Initially, everything's going to start on the dashboard. So the first thing we need to do is scroll to find the company in question. I'm aware that this company compliance piece has been out since, I think, September or October, but we have made a slight change to it of late. As you go into your company, you'll see your different tabs across the top, and we have now added one that says compliance right over on the right-hand side. As you click into here, you'll see the option for CDD required, which you're able to toggle on using the toggle pretty much in the center of your screen. As you turn it on, you'll get a full workflow down the left-hand side of what's required for you to be compliant in this area of the software. As you flick through, you'll see things such as nature of business relationship, where you can come in and add a relationship as shown on screen at the moment. I will use the only code that I can remember off the top of my head, which is for dormant accounts. It then automatically populates the activity description and you can save it and move on to the next piece of the workflow. The same principle applies for source of funds. You're able to toggle it on, add some free text, as well as any supporting documents that you may wish to add. And the same applies to source of wealth. We then come to individuals, and you'll see that Kylie Minogue has a shortcut to request for ID verification and AML screening. They are simply shortcuts, and we will come back to those later in the session. This is where a change has occurred as part of your risk assessment. We have added in a section for KYC, Know Your Client. There are some preempted questions in there which you can turn on, or you can add some custom questions to this as well. You can enter them in here and save them and delete them as you wish, and it may differ for different companies depending on what you choose to do. As you scroll through, you'll see the options for client risk, geographic risk, service risk, and so on. And as you come to the bottom, you'll get your risk level / CDD level, which you can choose from the drop-down options at the bottom of the page. Once you've chosen those, you can move on to the notes section, which is similar throughout CAS 360 for any extra info you want to add. And then you come to the risk review. You're able to say who's completed it, and you have the option to send this to a second reviewer to double check it and further enhance your risk management. That is not compulsory like it is in some other jurisdictions. However, we felt it would be really good to add as an option if you want to be ultra compliant, so to speak. Moving on. So, Companies House personal codes. This is where it starts to differ a little bit and starts to get a little bit more complicated, but hopefully you're all up to speed on what Companies House personal codes are and when they might be used. So what is a personal code? It is essentially, I think it's a 10 or 11 digits, digit number or code that is used to verify who an individual is and basically represent that identification piece has been successful and this individual is who they say they are. Once the identity verification has been complete, your individual will receive their Companies House personal code. They can then share this with you as their registered ACSP. And at this point, when you receive the code from the individual, the first thing we recommend you do is add that code to CAS 360. Again, I know we've been through this before, but just as a reminder, when adding the code to CAS 360, from your main dashboard, you need to head over to the contacts piece on the left-hand side of the page. From within here, you can use the grayed out search bar in the top right to search for the individual in question. As you come to your individual, you can click on their name where it's written in blue, and it will open you up to the information page for that individual. When adding a company's house personal code, we are adding information to the individual, so we click the green information plus button. Select identification numbers, and then we'll be able to select ID type from the drop down, which will say company's house personal code. You can then enter the ID number, select the issue date, and then you will come to the question at the bottom. The question at the bottom is a new piece we've added this month. Does the name match the verified company's house name? This essentially means, does the name on CAS 360 match the name that is held on company's house? If yes, turn it on. If no, obviously turn it off, and that will help us in the ID verification process a bit later on as well. You then click save, and that code is stored against that individual on CAS 360. We have asked Companies House about the possibility of potentially importing this, but unfortunately, it's not something they're willing to do for us, and therefore, this is, for now, the manual way of entering that information onto the platform. So you've got the personal code, you've entered it into CAS 360. How do you then use this personal code? For directors, you must provide the code in the company's next confirmation statement. If they are a director of multiple companies, you need to apply this code to each of those confirmation statements. In short, because we've added this to CAS 360, this will be done automatically for you, and you can just go ahead and file the next CSO1. New directors must provide their code either when they are appointed or when the company is incorporated if it is a new company. Again, we've incorporated this into CAS, and I will show you how that works in just a moment. For people with significant control, PSCs, you must provide their code using a specific online service for PSCs. We have a link to this area of the Companies House website. If you would like it, please let me know and I can share that link with you after the session. The timing of this depends entirely on the individual. There's typically a 14-day window either around the confirmation statement if they are also a director, or around their birth month if they are solely a PSC. So, the confirmation statement process. I know most of you are familiar with this and do it almost every day. However, we've made one or two changes to ensure that you're up to date and compliant with all the Companies House personal codes. So, as you'll see on screen, if it wants to play, on the left-hand side, we head to our confirmation tab as per normal. We search for the company we are making a confirmation statement for. Select prepare documents as normal, turn on our lawful purpose statement, and then the difference you'll see is the additional toggle at the very bottom of the page. This is for director's identity verification. Simply, you are ticking this box to say that the appointed directors have verified their identity according to the Companies House changes. So we can tick yes for Kylie Minogue, but the software actually tells us she doesn't have a personal code held against her at the moment. As we click into this red button, it is a shortcut for us to be able to add the code at this stage. And again, we get the match name question similar to we did before, and then we simply press save. From here on in, it turns to blue. It lets us know that the code has been entered, and we can proceed with the confirmation statement as normal. What you'll also notice is that the CSO1 document itself has actually been updated to reflect all the November changes in line with the new forms that have been released. For the CSO1 specifically, you'll see an extra page in here that contains the Companies House personal code, which is automatically populated by the software. And that is how you would file that code with Companies House for a director. There's been a number of forms updated in CAS 360 aside from the CSO1, of which you can see here, they're all where the Companies House personal code should now replace digital signing for those particular documents. I'm going to run through a couple of them now and show you how it works within CAS 360, just as an example. The first one would be if you were appointing a director or filing an AP01 form. Again, starting on the main dashboard as we always do. Choose the company in question, head to officers as if you were appointing a director as normal, and select add officer to give Kylie some support with this business. Officer name, you can enter the name of the officer that you are looking to add, the same as normal. And as you go to select their position, if we choose director, you'll now see that there is an alert for the company's house personal code to be added at this stage. There's also a shortcut within this alert, and you have the option to add it here. Again, very similar to before, you can just punch in the code, answer the question using the toggle underneath, and then click save. You can then proceed as normal, select your appointed date, add any notes you wish to add, and then select save in the bottom right hand corner. Now, similar to before, when producing an API 1, it's prepared our forms for us. We have an API 1 which we can go in and open up. What that will do is show us the up-to-date version as of November 2025. And actually pretty similar to the CSO1, you'll see an extra piece in there that contains the director's company's house personal code. So that's just a quick example of some of the forms that we have updated in line with all these changes and how we're helping you to stay compliant with CAS 360. We also mentioned there will be slight changes in terms of forming a company when you might need to add the personal code, including some of the registers you might need to hold for that particular company. Again, as you can see on screen, we'll go through the full workflow as normal and show you some of the changes along the way. So adding a company and a new company registration, select our jurisdiction, which will be the UK, and we'll continue to company registrations. Again, as normal, you see the full workflow appear down the left-hand side. But this time, as we go to officers and we look to add an officer in, if we were to add Kylie Minogue and she didn't have a personal code already added, we will get an alert pop up within this part of the process. And again, very similar to before, there is a shortcut to add it and answer the key question underneath. Moving on and touching on the piece where we mentioned earlier, there's no longer a legal requirement for registers. You can turn on or off any of these registers that you wish to keep. It is purely down to you as a firm to make that choice from here on in since the changes took place. We do have an information banner at the top just to remind you of that change in legislation and change in requirements, as well as a link to the area of the Company's House website that explains it in a lot more detail should you need any additional questions on that answered. So, shareholder registers. This is something a company is now legally required to keep. However, this is something that has been a part of CAS 360 since its release to the UK back in March. Just as a reminder for those of you who may not have used it yet, head down the left-hand side to the report section. As you come in, you'll see a report towards the right of the screen, which is a register of members/shareholders. Adjust your filters on the left-hand side, select the companies you want to produce it for, and then you'll be able to export, sorry is the word I'm looking for, export it as a Word or a PDF file. You may want to make more use of this if this is something you're going to be doing on behalf of your clients in line with those 18th of November changes. Just before we move on to BGL ID, I just want to give you a chance to pop any questions you might have from what we've just covered into the chat, and I will come to those at the end of the session. So I'll give you 30 seconds now, and then we'll move on to the BGL ID piece as well. I've had one question come through in the meantime, asking if the issue date for a company's house personal code is necessary. As far as I'm aware, I don't believe it is compulsory. However, it is best practice to have it added in. So from our perspective, where we're not obviously qualified accountants here in the software side of things, we're always going to recommend that you add it to the best of your knowledge, whether that be the actual issue date itself or whether it be the date that you receive it. That's what we're going to recommend. However, I don't believe it is compulsory now. Just moving on then to BGL ID. So we are introducing this now to the UK. It has been live for a week or two already, I believe. And I'm going to run you through everything that BGL ID is, how it works, what it does, with a few demos along the way as well. Same as before, please pop any questions you've got into the chat, and I will answer them as we get to the end of the session. So what is BGL ID? Essentially, it is just an identity verification solution that is built into CAS 360 for you to use. There is no setup required. It's already in there for you. It's already been released. It's on an update. It gives you very quick results, and we believe it to be a trusted solution because it has succeeded so far in 5 other jurisdictions across the world. We have a pricing graph here. So when you go into the software, you will get 4 different options. Simply to run an AML check on its own would cost you £3 plus VAT and includes the boxes that have a tick within them towards the right-hand side. You then also get options for your AML check and adverse media screening. You can run an ID verification and an AML check, or you could run an ID verification, an AML check, and an adverse media screen and give it sort of the full whack, which is what is at the bottom there. They're priced accordingly at £3, £4, £5, and £6. So how does it work? Requesting an ID verification. This is where BGL ID will email your client asking them to complete the ID verification either from their laptop or from their phone, which we'll show you in just a second. Once the information has been verified, your BGL product, which in this case is CAS 360, will have the results stored in there for you to go and view. For AML, for politically exposed persons, for adverse media screening, this kind of result will be shown to you through a report, of which examples we will give to you in just a second, for both ones that have succeeded and potentially failed as well. So what are the benefits of using BGL ID? Obviously, it's quite a simple access, having it all in the same space, alongside your company secretarial solution as well. There are no lock-ins, there's no minimum credits, there's no kind of minimum amounts that you have to do or buy in order to use BGL ID. It's simply done on a pay-as-you-click basis. So for example, if you need to do one ID check this month, you will only be charged once in your next monthly invoice. If you have a director who is a director of 5 or 6 different companies, you will still only need to do one identification check. Of course, it's made by us, so we think it's great. But the biggest kind of benefit you're going to see at the moment is that we are waiving the cost of this until the new year. So any ID checks or verifications or AML checks you wish to do between now and December the 31st will not cost you money. Anything from the 1st of January 2026 will begin to add on based on the price points we discussed just a moment ago, and they'll be added onto your next invoice, which would be on the 1st of February 2026. So please make most use of it as you can. Please have a go if it's something you're not sure about. Please have a go whilst it's free for the next sort of month and a little bit, just so you can get a feel for it and get an understanding of kind of what's going on, and make a bit more of an informed decision about whether this is going to be tailored to you and your firm, and hopefully it all works well for you. That being said, feedback is of course always welcome, as it is for every part of the software, good or bad. Please let us know, and we will do what we can to help improve the software as we go. So we'll move on to a couple of demos. I've broken this down into 3 or 4 stages, and we'll discuss each stage as it goes, just so you kind of get a feel about how the workflow might work in terms of getting an ID verification done and completed from the platform. The first piece is how to request an ID verification. Where do you go? What buttons do you press? And what does it look like from your perspective as a user? Initially, I'll go back to the shortcut that we showed you earlier. Within the compliance piece in the officers section, you would have seen the shortcut to the area we're just about to show you. Again, you can click on it here if you wish and do it as part of that workflow. But if not, you can head into your contacts. You can search for the contact in question, as we've done before, using that search bar on the top right. Again, you'll see the shortcuts here, so another opportunity to do it from this screen. But if you click into the contact, you'll then begin to see an additional compliance tab which has been added. Firstly, you'll be able to add in any passport details if you've got it to hand. This may be an option for you if your client comes into the office to get their ID verification done, or you might do it on a client visit, and do it all where you can see the passport in front of you. You know it's real. You don't necessarily need to do a biometric check. Copy the details in, add a photo of the passport, and potentially run an AML screening using the blue button in the top right. If you need to do a biometric ID check, you'd press on Request ID. It brings you to this pop-up. You'll get the choice of the 2 solutions that contain a biometric ID check, as well as a drop-down underneath about what each one contains. You choose which one you want by selecting the toggle, and you will get a prompt about what price you're going to be paying for that particular check. As soon as you hit proceed, your client will receive an email. From that email, they're able to do the following steps. So they'll receive an email from BGLID. They will attempt to verify their identity. And in this example, you're going to see it's going to be an unsuccessful verification. And we'll show you a little bit about what that looks like as well. So my lovely colleague Andy has had a go for us. He's had an email. He's scanned his phone in. It's taken him to the correct website he needs to use. And he's able to get started and review the privacy policies about data. Clicks continue, chooses the type of ID he's going to be using, and then it switches over to his camera. Can take a photo of the ID in question, whether it be a driving license or a passport. As you go through, the barrier around the passport will turn green to let you know that it's been successful. It then validates your documents, and what you'll see next is him trying to take a selfie, doing his best Mr. Bean impression. It validates the documents again, tries to match the two faces, and what you'll see is that despite a really good attempt of his Mr. Bean face, it's not quite good enough, and it says that the faces do not match. You can then press continue. It just makes sure everything's okay. And then it will let Andy know that everything he's done is correct and it's been sent back to his accountant or his ACSP. You will then know that the client has done this. It will come back into your CAS 360 software and it will go one of two ways. It will have either failed or it will have succeeded. This video is going to show you exactly what both of those look like. So you can head to your contact section. I'm going to use my colleague Ashley in this example because he's got one passed and one failed. So you're looking for the sanctions passed or sanctions failed on the right hand side. You can then open up your individual, head to your compliance tab, and now the screen looks a bit different. You'll see that the risk level is low. You'll see the pass mark on the right hand side, and you will see a report there as well. This report will obviously be a little bit more populated for a real life client, but it will give you a bit of information about the check that's taken place. The full history will then be stored there within the contact as well of all the different reports. Heading back to Ashley as if he failed, you'll notice that it's turned red on the right hand side. The risk level is now set to high and the little meter is pointing towards the red. And on the right hand side, you'll see that it says PEP or sanctions fail again. Opening this report, you'll see it's got a lot more detail in it with links to the adverse media and so on. And you'll see that it's failed on a potential match. Now, this doesn't mean he has failed completely. This means that there is a potential match somewhere in the system and it may be a fail. It needs a manual review to make sure that Ashley Barker isn't Ashley Baker. The way that we do this is click on the red button on the right, check the list of potential matches. None of them say Ashley Barker, they all say Ashley Baker, so we can confirm that none of those are our client, who is Ashley Barker in this instance, so we can change it to manually passed. We can then add a reason in and say, name is Ashley Barker, not Baker. I can confirm that this isn't one of the potential matches, and then we can pass it from here. Once we've done everything that we've gone through today, we've done compliance, we've done our ID verifications and so on, we can then start to make use of some of the alerts that are on the main dashboard. What you'll notice now is that you have additional alerts down the left-hand side for your AML and CDD compliance alerts, and you're able to break them down for documents required, reviews required, document expiry, and so on. As you filter by those, it will reflect what's on the right-hand side, and the question mark for alerts will give you some additional information about the alerts that we have added to the system. You can then click on these alerts and you'll see it will tell you exactly what it is that's gone on, so you can become a bit of a lifestyle manager and tell people when their passport is due to expire, as well as compliance reviews and when they're due. And you'll see it has little shortcuts towards the right hand side of that pop-up that take you to that area of the software for you to go and do the actions that are necessary for you to either review a passport again, do compliance again, or whatever it may be. That being said, and everything we've gone through, there are some things we do need to add to the system as well. So there's a lot of extra things that we feel could help you as a user to really get the most out of CAS 360 and to really streamline the process as best we can. The first one is a PSC listing. This is something that is being worked on already and we're hoping will be with us in a matter of weeks. It will be a PSE listing report. It will give you a list of the associated companies the PSE is associated with, as well as their date of birth to help you manage when their identity verification will be due. Of course, if they're a director, it will state that they're a director as well, and it could be that the CSO1 date is due before their birthday, and therefore you would do it on the CSO1 date. Refill that listing, although not here yet, when it does come, is really going to help you get the most out of CAS and really streamline the process of knowing who is due when and having everything organized, um, and basically helping you get everything in place. The next major one we're looking to add over the coming weeks is a company's house personal code alert on the main dashboard. So much like where we've seen the ID expiry alert or the compliance review date alert on the main dashboard, we're going to be adding an additional alert in there to signify companies where the director does not have a personal code attached. So for example, on your main dashboard, it might be ABC Limited. You might have a notification to say Kylie Minogue does not have a personal code attached, and therefore you'll be able to add it and see it and take a shortcut to the area of the software again from your main dashboard. That is what we are working on, amongst others. As always, we do recommend feedback. So if there are anything you experience while using the new updates for these 18th of November changes, please do let us know, and we will do our very best to get as much as we can implemented, providing that it benefits as many users as possible. That for me pretty much covers everything I wanted to cover for today. I understand there will be a few questions, so please pop them into the chat. I'll give you 30 seconds or so and begin answering. If I don't get through all the questions, as mentioned earlier, I will do my best to give you a ring after this session and make sure you're feeling confident with all the changes. But for those of you who don't have any questions, thank you very much for joining. It's lovely to see so many numbers in here this month. And if you think of any questions later down the line, please do just get in touch.